Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're doing another top 10 with green 5 stars. We're going to be ranking them based on how good their special is. And then we're going to look at each of these heroes and how well they do on attack, defense, mythic time, and special events. Before proceeding to the ranking, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and comment below. We're almost getting 100 subscribers, so thank you to all of my viewers. So, without further ado, I hope you like this video. Enjoy. At number 10, we have the Hatter. So he deals 400% damage to the target and nearby enemies where he deals minor damage to them. He also steals dispellable buffs from all enemies and randomly allocates them on your allies. Now, I think when he was first released, he was dealing 370%, and then he got buffed along the way. I just don't remember when that happened. Now, the reason why he makes it on the list is because of his second skill. His second skill is very powerful. He just steals all of the enemies' buffs, especially in today's meta where you have a lot of heroes that gives buffs to their allies. One prime example is Ferdinand, where if he fires off, he can be very annoying and difficult to deal with, especially if you don't have a Dispeller in your team or your Dispeller doesn't fire off. He doesn't dispel. If anything, he steals all these buffs and put them on your allies, and now your allies can be annoying to him. One other example is Queen Guowang, where you can steal her special and all of the allies, or all of her allies special, and whenever they fire off, you get more mana. And you know, the options are limitless. Now, there are some downsides to this special. One of that is he's an average hero. Second one is you can't choose which heroes in your allies that gets these special. And the third one is when you play against taunt, and I don't know if I would call this a downside, but you know, when you play against a hero that has taunt and gives additional buffs, such as Krampus, you will only steal the taunt. You will not steal the other buffs. If you want to steal the other buffs, you have to dispel first or steal the taunt and then fire him again and steal the other buffs. But honestly, stealing the taunt by itself is a very awesome ability. Now, the reason why he is in number 10, it's because of his low stats. So he deals some damage at average speed, and does not survive much, especially with the power creep that's happening in the game. He just does not survive as good as the other heroes. But if he does, he will serve you well. Now, if they released a costume version of him where that would buff his stats, he might be more viable. So how does he do on offense? It's his best use on offense. As I said, he's a dispeller slash stealer, if anything. And the only other hero that I know that does that as 5-star is Milady de Winter, and she's a slow hero, so he gets that advantage over her. On top of this, he deals damage. On defense, you don't see him anymore. You know, you might see him in lower ranked alliances, but in higher rank, you never see him on defense just because he's very squishy. And then on Mythic Titan events, he's really not that good. There are a lot of heroes that outclasses him, but he still makes it a list at number 10 for his awesome special skill. At number 9, we have Lady of the Lake. She recovers 42% health for all allies. She also summons a minion with 14% HP and 15% attack to the caster and nearby allies. These minions remove 10% mana from the target when it hits them. Now, when Lady of the Lake was released and people got her, she was very hard to deal with. One of the good thing about her is she drains a lot of mana, even though it sounds like 10%. You know, the enemy, once they get drained, they do not charge on the next turn. And this is one advantage over Water Pipe's minions, which drain 5%, and if they're full and you drain them, they will charge up the next turn. One disadvantage over Water Pipe's minions is that Water Pipe summons minions for all allies, while she summons minions for only 3 allies. And in addition, you have Water Pipe's increased special damage and prevention of immunity. So each of them has advantages over the other ones. I particularly like Lady of the Lake a lot, and I still use her in some wars, even wars that are non-rush. She's one of the slow heroes that I would use in non-rush wars, and she's particularly good if you pair her with heroes that increases her mana, such as Ludwig, or in minion wars where you can use Grimble to collect mana. Now, she got a stat boost from her costume, and her costume was disappointing, to be honest. The good thing about her costume is it boosts health by 550, so that's the only advantage. But her minions at her costume reduces mana generation and does not reduce mana, which was very disappointing and lost the very best effect that makes Lady of the Lake very good. So, most people who use her original costume and not her second costume. So how does she do on offense? She's awesome in offense, and I think nowadays that's her best use. As I said, especially if you pair her with heroes that increases her mana. The fact that she heals and delays heroes, that's a very essential effect. And she shines on Rush War, especially if you deal with the Alphaik and the Cupidos and all of that. They all get their mana reduced, and they can get delayed, especially if you pair her with Ludwig, where you can fire off multiple times and they're never gonna fire off. So that's where her best use is. How about on defense? On defense I still see her sometimes. She's good maybe in Rush War, but other wars it's a little bit difficult to put her on defense, especially with all of the fast heroes that are there that if anything outclasses her. So you'll still see her in lower rank defenses, but in higher rank defenses you will never see her in regular wars. Sometimes you would see her in Rush War, but with Water Pipe, people started using Water Pipe more in Rush War than Lady of the Lake. But I remember before Water Pipe, she used to be in Rush War, and I used to put her in my Rush War defense as well. Lastly, on Mythic Titan and events, she is not useful, and for that she earns number 9. At number 8 we have Mistweaver. He's part of the Hunter's family. He deals 350% damage to the target and nearby enemies. The target and nearby enemies resist healing and receive 220 damage per each healing for 4 turns. He also deals an extra 15% damage to the weaker element. All of that at fast speed. Now, Mistweaver is a very strong hero, and when he hits, he deals a lot of damage, especially if you pair him with elemental defense or defense down, which we have a lot of them in the green color. I remember when they released Mistweaver, I think they released him a month after Staintongue, which, Staintongue was from the same portal. I think it was the Covenant Summon. And he was strong. He was dealing 330% in addition to his poison damage. And then a month after, not even 1 month after, they released Mistweaver, which just power crapped Staintongue. And I think, he's he's better than Steentung. On top of his damage, the fact that you can't heal is just very powerful, and will make him kill your heroes um, um, pretty easy. Now, on offense, he is awesome, especially you pair him with other fast heroes that reduces elemental defense down. Still, he doesn't kill everyone, or he doesn't kill a whole side by doing the elemental defense down, but he almost does, especially if they heal up. So he's a good option against annoying healers on the enemy's defense. On defense, he's still used, and he's powerful on defense. As with other 3-hit heroes, that's a downside where he can only sometimes hit 2 heroes instead of 3 heroes. So, how does he do on Mythic Titan? There are better heroes. He's, not the highest damage hero, but he can be pretty good if you don't have any other strong hitter. On events, it's kind of the same thing. He's pretty good, especially if you pair him with elemental defense down. He would deal a lot of damage. So he's not bad at events, although there are better heroes than him, but still he can be useful. And for that, he earns his spot as number 8. At number 7, we have Hammer Tusk. He deals 360% damage to the target nearby enemies, and all the damage to the target and nearby enemies is increased by 50% for 4 turns. Now, when Hammer Tusk first came out, he immediately replaced Franz. His advantage over Franz is that he's an average hero, as opposed to Franz, which is a very slow hero, and he deals much more damage. Now, what makes Hammer Tusk very powerful is the fact that, to my knowledge, he is the only green star hero that you can pair him up with another strong hitter, and he can wipe off a whole side. The other elemental defense down or defense down heroes, you have to bring in 3 heroes in total to wipe off a whole side. So that makes him very powerful. In offense, he's very good, especially if you get him to fire off. One disadvantage is that he's average, so you'll need more tiles to fire him off. But if you pair him with another average hero like Guan Yu, you can definitely wipe off a whole side. Now, I don't know if that's still the case if you have all second limit broken heroes, but definitely if you have him as second limit break with another second limit break hero, then you'll deal a lot of damage. Now, I think a lot of people are gonna second limit break him, and it's not for offense or defense. It's more for Mythic Titan and special events. Now, his best use is in Mythic Titan. You'll see him on top of the list for hitters, especially paired up with Pengies and whatnot, because he just increases the perceived damage by 50%, and it would melt the Mythic Titan away. And himself, he deals a lot of damage as well. On events, he's also very good, and you see him in a lot of top hitters as well. Now, on defense, he might not be the best because he's average, and as with the other hit 3, he might not hit all 3 enemies. So he's a very powerful hero. He deserves his spot at number 7. At number 6, we have Toxicandra. She recovers 30% health for all allies. All your allies receive moderate amount of mana over 3 turns, and she cleanses status ailments from all allies. Now, Toxicandra is one of my all-time favorite heroes in Empires and Puzzles. She's just so fun to play with, and you can pair her with a lot of teams. Now, the fact that she recovers that amount of health, which has been buffed, it used to be less than that. I think she used to be at 20%, if I'm not mistaken. and she recovers a moderate amount of mana over 3 turns, which is about 10% every turn. And she cleanses status ailment on top of all this, makes her very powerful. And one of the reasons that makes her very powerful is if you pair her with 2 fast heroes, or any other fast hero, and they have Magic Troop at level 29, they would charge up at 6 tiles. If you pair her with a Mana Troop at 29, then they would charge up the second turn she fires off. And I can't tell you how many times I use this ability to fire off my heroes, especially my fast heroes, more than once. You can also pair her with your average heroes, and she would reduce a tile if you wait 3 turns. So she is very useful and very versatile. In terms of her use on offense, she's best used on offense, and you can pair her, as I said previously, with a lot of heroes. She'll boost their health and their mana, and she cleanses as well. So she is very powerful on offense. On defense, you don't see her as much as she used to be on defense, and that's because her stats are not strong now compared to the other heroes. So she, you might see her once in a while, but for the most part, you're not going to see her as much just because she's a little squishy. On Mythic Titan events, she's not that useful. So for that, she earns number 6. At number 5, we have El Nada. She deals 305% damage to the target nearby enemies. Target and nearby enemies are immune to new status effect buffs for 3 turns, and every time they put in a buff, they would receive 200 damage. Now, when she was first released, everyone was chasing her, and for a good reason. One, she deals a decent amount of damage. It might not be as strong, but don't be fooled. She deals more damage than you would expect. The other reason is because of her passive. She has a 50% chance to deal more damage along with dispelling the latest buff. And for some reason, every time I play her when she's on defense, that 50% becomes 100%, because every time she fires, her passive fires off, and it gets very annoying when that happens. And the fact that she prevents the enemies from putting buffs, especially the taunters, makes her a very good hero. On offense, she's awesome. If you pair her with elemental defense down, she's not going to kill a whole side, but she's going to prevent them from having buffs, along with dispelling at 50%. In defense, she used to be an awesome hero and the top tier when she was first released. Now there are a lot of heroes that outclasses her, but don't get it wrong, she's still a very powerful hero in defense, and you still see her in a lot of defenses. The only downside, as I said before, is she can sometimes not hit 3 heroes, but she still has that 50% chance to dispel and deal more damage. So she is still a very relevant hero, and a lot of people still use her. And for that, she earns number 5. At number 4, we have Evelyn. She deals 210% damage to the target nearby enemies. She does elemental defense down at 54%, and she dispels buffs from the target nearby enemies. And then she has the element link, where she recovers 4% health for all nature allies. So I spoke about Evelyn in a previous video, which is the top 10 hero of the month. And if you haven't watched that video, you can go and watch it as well. I did a detailed breakdown of how good she is. But in my opinion, Evelyn's still one of the best green heroes, and there's a lot of people that are still chasing her. And one good news, I don't know if I call it good news, but she's going to get a costume, so her stats are going to be boosted, and she's going to be even more useful. Now, on offense is where her best use is. The fact that she deals damage, dispels, especially with the meta today with all the buffs, and she augments the damage for your allies, makes her a staple at anyone who has her leveled up with other fast heroes. And you need 3 heroes basically to wipe out the whole side. On defense, she's not very useful now. Maybe when she was first released, people used it a little bit, but you don't see her pretty much now on defense just because her damage is low, stats are low, so she's very much squishy. On Mythic Titan, she's awesome. You know, if you play against a blue Titan, she's pretty good. There are other heroes like Philius, where he has more elemental defense down, so she could be a good alternative if you don't have these strong heroes. On events, kind of the same thing. If you don't have, Hammer Tusk, she can be a very good alternative, and she can help you out very well. So for that, she earns number 4. At number 3, we have Econite. So Econite is one of the ninja heroes, and you know how I feel about the ninja heroes. In my opinion, the ninja portal is the best portal of empires and puzzles. They just have so many powerful heroes that charge up at 5 tiles or 4 tiles, which is crazy. He is a charge hero, as with the other ninjas. At the first charge, he would give 200% damage to all enemies and summons a minion for all allies with 8% HP. And those minions counterattack 60%. And as you get higher on the charges, he would deal more damage and has more HP of the minion with the same counterattack. Now, I was debating whether I would put him or Liu Bei, but in my opinion, he's better than Liu Bei for several reasons. First of all, he charges up at 5 tiles, where Liu Bei is an average hero. Second of all, at first charge, he has almost the same HP as Liu Bei's minions, which Liu Bei has 9% HP, and Econite has 8%, with the same counterattack damage. On top of all of this, he's a fighter class, so he can revive and fire off his special if he didn't get to fire it off. So on offense is where his best use. It's just insane how you can charge him up in 5 tiles, deals all that damage, and on top of this, gets all these minions to your allies that can deal more damage if the enemy attacks them. On defense, we talked a lot about these charge heroes, so they're very unpredictable. And then on events and Mythic Titan, he's not good. There are other heroes that outclasses him, but he's still a very powerful hero. And if you have him, I would recommend that you level him up. At number 2, we have Archie. So that might sound like an odd choice for number 2, but as you read his special, you realize why he is very powerful. So he's one of the Easter heroes, deals 250% damage to all enemies, and all enemies are immune to buffs for 4 turns, and each time they put in a buff, they would receive 150 damage. As with other Easter heroes, he has a downside, which he gets 10% accuracy, or minus 10% accuracy for 4 turns. And honestly, out of all the debuffs that the Easter heroes get, this is one of the best ones. As 10% is not a lot, and you can prevent that by putting status ailment immunity to him before he fires off his special. Now, the reason why he is very powerful is because the meta now has a lot of heroes with buffs, and especially if you pair him off with heroes that reduces defense and elemental defense down, he's going to deal a substantial amount of damage. One example is Mott. She does defense down to all enemies, and he deals damage to all enemies at fast speed, and they're going to deal a substantial amount of damage. Now, sometimes you're going to have to pair him with a dispeller, such as Evelyn, and he becomes very powerful against heroes such as Ludwig. So, because if you charge him up with the other fast heroes such as Evelyn, you can dispel his second limit broken, um, taunt, and then prevent him from firing his taunt. Especially now, you see a lot of defenses that I've seen now where Ludwig is a tank. So he's going to become a tile dump for 4 turns, and that'll charge up your heroes. And the fact that he doesn't get mana down after his special just makes him very powerful, and you can charge him up again. I think on offense, he's definitely where he's best used, especially if you pair him with another Dispeller and Elemental Defense down with Evelyn. He's going to do tons of damage. And if you get him with mods as well, there's going to be just a lot of damage to the enemy. On defense, he's awesome at defense. I haven't seen many defenses, I will say. I haven't seen many defenses with him. I've played against defenses where he is there, and when he fires off, he becomes very annoying. He might not be the best defense, but I think with a lot of people starting to get him, he's going to become more prevalent. He might not become on the top alliances, but he's still going to become very prevalent, and you'll get to see him a lot on defenses as well. On Mythic Titan and events, he's not good. Before I go to number 1, I have a few honorable mentions. Have Liu Bei, which deals 340% damage to the target nearby enemies. He summons these minions with 9% HP for all allies and 17% attack, and they counterattack with 60%. Now, Liu Bei initially was buffed, and then he got too powerful, especially with the other War 3 Kingdom heroes, and then his minions were debuffed, and he was nerfed, or his minions were nerfed to 9% HP. He's still a very powerful hero. He's going to add more survivability and more damage with the counterattack, especially if you pair him with other elemental defense down. He's going to deal tons of damage. And on top of this, he has the War of 3 Kingdom passive, which increases his mana and HP with every minion. Second one is Kai. He's a very fast hero, deals tons of damage, reduces attack by 45% every turn, and the damage increases every turn by 8%. So the fact he's very fast, he's going to fire off multiple times, and reduces the enemy's attack by a lot, and you can just put him on multiple enemies, and your enemies are not going to deal a lot of damage. So he's very useful and a very good hero. Third one is Athos. He destroys minions from the target at very fast speed and deals 470% damage to the target that bypasses all defenses. And for every minion, he gets 20%. Again, he's one of those heroes who's dealing a lot of damage, bypasses, and gains mana for minions. He's a very powerful hero as well. In my opinion, the top 5-star green hero in Empires and Puzzles is Arco. Arco is one of the gargoyle heroes. He summons a gargoyle minion for all your allies with 30% HP and 20% attack. He also replaces all fiends with gargoyle minions, and for each minion you would heal 75%, or 75 HP, I should say. Now, you see Fiend hero on defense, and he becomes an automatic choice. And what makes him powerful is those minions have a lot of HP. And to top all of this off, and why he's on the first spot, is because he boosts health with these minions. He heals for a lot of HP, especially if the enemy gives you fiends and you use these fiends to heal your allies. It becomes very hard to kill once those fiends are up, especially if the enemy does not have a minion killer. To top all of this off, he has the annoying stone skin, so he can survive even more to fire off again. So he, once you get him fired off, you're pretty much guaranteed, or almost guaranteed, that your heroes are not going to get killed pretty easy. Now, on offense, he is a very powerful hero, and he's gonna make you very survivable. Like, he combines healing and an additional wall of defense with his beefy minions. So he becomes an automatic choice for Fiend heroes, or if you play against Fiend heroes. On defense, he is very powerful, especially if you don't have a minion killer. And you see some alliances now where they second limit break him and use him as a tank. And if you have a whole team that has him as a tank, it becomes a problem because most people don't have 6 minion killers. And if that happens, he's a very, very defensive hero, and his defense stat along with his HP is high, especially as a second limit broken. And if he gets his minions up before you kill him and you don't have a minion killer, it becomes very hard to win the game, or win the match, I should say. So if you got Arco, which he was featured in one of the Soul Exchange events, congratulations. I would advise you strongly to level him up. He's going to be a great addition to your team on offense and defense. On Mythic, Titan, and events, he's not a good hero. So with that, we're done with our top 10 green heroes. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Comment below about which heroes you think should have been ranked higher. Also tell me if you have a different list. As with the other videos, I'm seeing some excellent suggestions that I liked a lot. And at the end of the day, everyone chooses their own list of their good heroes based on what they have in their roster. So with that, I will bid you farewell, and I will see you on the next video.